Welcome to the Susan LoPresti Wellness Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. This is your go-to space for midlife and mature women who are ready to reclaim their health, boost their energy, and live long, vibrant, and purposeful lives. Each week, we dive deep into natural wellness, holistic healing, anti-aging strategies, and healthy lifestyle habits to help you feel your best physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Whether you're navigating through menopause, working through chronic conditions, or simply wanting to age gracefully and intentionally, this show is your sanctuary for science-backed insights, powerful stories, and soul-nourishing inspiration. So if you're a woman in your 40s, 50s, or older looking to thrive in the next chapter of your life, you're in the right place. On this episode of Susan LoPresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul, I'm honored to introduce a guest whose life journey bridges intellect, spirituality, and holistic healing in the most extraordinary way. Phillip Wilson's path began as a child prodigy in mathematics, but his story didn't stop there. A profound out-of-body and kundalini awakening shifted the trajectory of his life, opening him to a deeper understanding of energy, consciousness, and the body's innate capacity to heal. Since the 1970s, Phil has devoted himself to exploring natural health solutions that address root causes rather than symptoms. Something you know is deeply aligned with the heart of my podcast. As the passionate advocate behind the Relax Far Infrared Sauna, Phil has helped educate thousands about the powerful role far infrared therapy can play in detoxification, circulation, cellular health, and vibrant aging. His decades of dedication to wellness education have made him a respected voice in the holistic health community. What makes this conversation truly special is the synergy between our missions, empowering mature women to heal, rejuvenate, and thrive. With Phil's blend of wisdom, scientific curiosity, spiritual insight, and humor, today's episode promises to inspire you while offering practical strategies to support your midlife wellness journey. Get ready for a rich and transformative conversation about energy, longevity, and embracing holistic health in a whole new way. Please join me in welcoming Phillip Wilson to my podcast. Phillip, welcome to our podcast. I am so excited to have you here. I have a ton of questions and I can't wait to dive in.
Good. Really enjoy conversations with people who are like-minded, and I've had a lot of wonderful experiences, and I love sharing it with whoever will listen. And
Okay,
if they don't listen, I stop like on a dime.
so my first question to you is you were a child prodigy in mathematics. What was life like for you growing up with that kind of an intellectual gift that you had? And
Well,
did you see it as a gift?
yes, it's a slight exaggeration. I was just known as Mr. Math of the school. I wasn't valedictorian. I got an 800 on my math SAT, but I got a 419 in English. So I was a little lopsided. But I was tutoring a lot of people in math. I would sit on my dad's lap and they would say, "How much is 8,462 and 2,911?" And I'd tell them the answer. And then I'd say, "How much is 68 times 42?" And I'd tell them the answer because I do it in my head like a blackboard, an inner blackboard. It was really easy. And they would find out a couple minutes later I was correct. When I finished, I published in high school about 5 solutions to for national high school mathematics magazines for brilliant math students, and I was published, I think, 3, 4 times my senior year. I finished second, third, and fourth the state of Indiana and national and high and statewide math exams.
Wow.
So I did get an honors degree in mathematics at OSU. And then my last semester, the day before it started and a couple days after, I found out that my girlfriend's other boyfriend that it was I had to let go. He could give her what I couldn't. I wasn't strong enough on a certain level, and so I surrendered. And but I was a mess for 3 or 4 days because my whole world was destroyed. I was an absent-minded math professor. My girlfriend's going to be my social secretary and take care of all my needs, and I could just be in an ivory tower solving math problems. So that was great. One of the greatest things that happened. I call Craig a saint now. But I had a realization. I had to pick myself from the bootstraps and start making a life for myself again.
Yes.
And the message I got, the realization I had is I had to get involved in music, art, and dance. And now, when I look back at that, basically, when I look back at that experience 3 years later, it was very spiritual and metaphysical and profound. They actually took me out of my body and they showed me like a big area, like where in a field, but like inside, like a basketball court or an indoor handball court, where women were doing dance, women were doing art, and women were doing music. And they said, you need to get involved in music, art, and dance. And the secret thing that they didn't necessarily say is you need to become a feeler. You're a thinker. You are so left brain. You need to become more right brain. You need to be more balanced. And which is what my advisor at Indiana University told me that I was too left brain. And when I took my liberal arts courses, I took logic in the philosophy department and economics. And there, those, I finally took 19th century painting and appreciation of music, and those were quite changing to me. They were profound. I
Uh-huh.
also took some kind of poetry class too. But what happened is I got connected to the inner sound and inner light of the divine, and
Wow.
I didn't know it. And that was the driving force that got me to become a feeler instead of a thinker. And the book that illustrates that more than anything is a book by Hermann Hesse. Are you familiar with Hermann Hesse?
No,
He wrote a couple classic books, Steppenwolf, they
I
named a
heard of
band
that.
after,
Yeah.
yeah, and then Siddhartha. And those were classic. The Hermann Hesse was a German artist who wrote mainly in the 30s and the 40s. And he wrote a book called Narcissus and Goldmund, which was the dichotomy of a thinker and a feeler. But in actuality, it's within one person. And that book, when I was a graduate student in mathematics, and they expected to be the next Richard M. Wilson, who in 6 years of college and graduate work became an associate professor of mathematics, and then a full professor 3 years later. And that was my older brother. So they gave me a 4 year fellowship at Ohio State instead of the other four universities that gave me assistantships because they said, this guy's, if he's anywhere like his brother, we're going to be so proud of him. But they didn't know I had an out of body experience. And it's like my math advisor was saying to me way back, he said, Phil, you have to have discipline. And that's when the lightning struck. I said, oh my gosh, the difference between discipline and self force. Discipline is when you apply inward pressure to do something you really want to do.
Okay.
Self force is when you apply inner pressure to do something you don't want to do, even if you in the past did. So, anyway, that's my background. And because of that, when I got lit and during the experience, my body chemistry was changed. And so slowly my diet was changing. And all of a sudden, I quit doing coffee. And if you go into a math department, in the past, it smelled of cigarettes and coffee.
Yeah.
And you come from corporate America, probably it's not much difference.
Right.
And so I was doing 4 or 5 cups of coffee today as an undergraduate studying math. I'd go to the math library and drink a cup after coffee to keep me mentally alert. But I started, that's the pituitary gland, that's the third eye.
Yeah.
And the pineal gland is the spiritual center of who you are.
Yeah.
It's in the center of the head, about an inch away from it's a gland. It's an inch away and a little bit higher than the pituitary. And that's the gland that connects us to the divine beyond time and space. So I got into meditating accidentally, not having been taught. I just did it because there's nothing else I wanted to do, because I was lit and I didn't know what was going on. And this what when you go out to a restaurant
Yeah.
and you have to choose something to eat, what do? You go there and you feel, what does this feel like? What does that feel like? And then you make a choice. So that's the intuitiveness that gets developed as you start saying, what do I really want to do? Not go beyond your training, go beyond what they taught you in high school, go beyond what you wanted to do, because that was then. And you get into the now and said, what do I really want to do? And that my body chemistry started changing. And then a year and a half later, I was on the campus at Ohio State University where I was doing graduate work in math. And I met this guy, Charlie, and he was about 6'4", and he was just wearing yoga pants and no shirt. And he asked me what was going on that evening, and I didn't know. And I was flippantly saying, I don't know. And then I said, well, let me think about it. I still didn't know, but we ended up talking. And then we went over to my apartment about and a half hour later because my neck got tired. And he said, try this exercise. And so we did all these exercises, and it's like my whole body was totally changed. And the next day, he was a fruitarian himself, mainly eating nuts and fruits. And that basically, so I didn't know what to do. I couldn't eat anything. I ate a steak 3 days later and I was comatose. It took me about 8 hours of meditating to feel like my mind could function. And 4 days later, I had ham, and the same thing happened. But anyway, that just started the whole process. And then I got into selling, I got into selling herbal vitamins. And then 7 years later, I got into opening up a health food store and selling massage tools and spirulina and chlorella and Chinese herbs and green powders and oxygen products. And I was having the time of my life because I would eat something and I could see exactly where it did to the body and what it did to the points in my head that made, especially the crown chakra,
Yeah.
that made me feel creative, because again, my background is being creative. I took a learning theory course, a psychology course as a junior at Indiana University, and I was so frustrated because the class learning theory, it had nothing to do with those aha moments. Those aha moments was, you're in corporate America, it's all about aha moments. That's what life's about. In other words, if you're a center fielder in baseball and the ball gets hit right at you and you catch it, that's nice. But it's when you have to run at the crack of the bat, and you have to run 150 feet and dive and catch the ball. That's what life's about.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's my
Wow.
background.
So
But
let's,
anyway, I opened up a health food store in 1980, and I've had the same health food store for 45 years. I got 5 people in Columbus who run it. I've been promoting since 2001 the Relax Far Infrared Sauna, and that's my passion because that's the pinnacle of all the products we've ever sold that you help your body get balanced, helps you in homeostasis and cleansed and purified and alert so that you can function optimally.
so before we get into that, I wanted to ask you because you had a kundalini awakening.
Yes.
Tell us what that's all about, what that experience was for you.
That's the guy Charlie, the yogi who I
Yeah.
met, and he came over to my house, and he found that at the time I was very humble, probably more humble than I'd ever been in my life. It's a balance of being self-confident and knowing you're connected and really listening to the inner guidance with an openness. So he found me very humble, and he said, try this exercise. And it was like some kind of exercise like this, do this, chant, look in your third eye, and chant Om. And I did that about 30, 40, 50 times. And I did it while on my knees. And we put a mattress behind me. And then I would just do this. And then I would get hit and I'd fall down on the mattress. And so it was like, and this was like the fifth initiation technique that they learned in his yoga teachings.
Uh-huh.
So basically, then I continued to do that exercise. And for the next 9 months, I was doing yoga and meditating 6 hours every morning.
Wow.
I was walking around in a small wool coat. I'm a wuss with the heat. I've come back to where I don't like cold, but at that time I was like impervious. And I did a lot of fasting. I went to the health food store. The health food store told me about herbs, recommended I go fasting. And I didn't, at first, I was doing grapefruit and brown rice. I didn't know anything. Okay. So I was thrown into the ocean, said swim. And so the children's books,
Yeah.
they start with The Adventures of Alice in Wonderland, The Adventures of Robin Hood, The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, The Adventures of Aladdin, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. And I like to throw in this as a joke, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. In other words, life is an adventure. So
Yeah.
I was fearless and just having an adventure. And I eventually was led to bookstores that explained what was going on. And I found a book by Gopi Krishna that I didn't have the standard Kundalini awakening, but I read the whole book on the awakening Kundalini by, I think his name was Gopi Krishna. And that explained the feelings I was having. I got permission from the math department to transfer out of math for a year. I was taking a course in existentialism. And Kierkegaard. I was understanding exactly what he was talking about. I understood what Plato was talking about. I remember my existentialist professor thought I was crazy, and he was teaching Kierkegaard, but he wasn't living it. He was looking at it from an intellectual perspective, and I was experiencing it. So I knew exactly what he was talking about when he wrote his book, Fear and Trembling. My perception psychology philosophy professor gave me an F. He said incoherent, no arguments, mystery mongering when I did my term paper. My Plato teacher said I was putting things into it that weren't there because I had touched the hem of God's robe. I had touched the
Wow.
divine and really wasn't aware of it, but I had touched something and had struck a chord of being connected to the divine. And I was still like a semi-atheist.
Were you frightened by that at all or
No,
confused by
nothing
it?
was frightening. Nothing was
Okay.
frightening. It was just an adventure. It was just all joy. I knew what was going on. And I was just embracing everything as an adventure. See, that's
Right.
what kids do. If you see they see it as an adventure. There's no fear, maybe a little
Right.
bit, but it's minor. It's overlooked. And so I was just having the time of my life. People, I think the rabbi at Hillel told someone that I was schizophrenic, but and then I started teaching classes. A friend of mine taught a class called Getting in Touch with Your Creative Potential, or he wasn't a friend, and that's how we met.
Uh-huh.
And then eventually we ended up teaching a class called Creative Consciousness and Yogi Philosophy. And then I ended up teaching a group meditation class and a hatha yoga class accidentally. And we would have 40 people come every week to our creative consciousness in the here and now. And I won't say we were developing a cult following, but we're developing people who were interested in spiritual awareness.
Yeah.
And I was sharing books from Ram Dass, the Be Here Now book, the Stephen Gaskin Monday Night Class book, and we were just having fun exploring, finding out about life, having adventures, sharing our experiences. And it's funny, I've done many podcasts, 50 podcasts in the last year or two, and I haven't touched on what we're touching about now at all. For some reason, I'm elaborating with you more so than I have with
Because I'm
others.
very interested in all of it.
Yeah, again, I I don't have a pony in this race. I don't care what I say. I just say tune in, and I have to listen to speak to you and the audience, and I do the best I can to communicate. I was telling a friend the other day, sometimes I have to blasphemize the English language in order to get a point across because the goal is communication, not
Yeah.
proper English. It's not being nice, it's being kind.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like with you, there was something going on, and spirit, or whatever you want to call it, came to you and just put all of this onto you so that you could be a vessel and put it out to the world in some way.
And
Because
yes, yeah. Now, at one time, I was wondering, am I crazy or am I a genius? And I finally figured I wasn't crazy. But I used to, for in 70, 71, I was really concerned because I'm having thoughts, oh my God. And but it's when you break through, it's like you have to break through the shell, like the Truman story, or in it's like Jonathan Livingston Seagull. You're just
yeah,
minding your own business, doing your passion, and then you find that it's just having a breakthrough. I've studied a little bit of Jung. I studied Abraham Maslow's, Fritz Perls, Carl Rogers, all the great psychology books, and then Ram Dass or Richard Alpert. I studied a little bit of Timothy Leary and Ralph Metzger. And then I got connected to the Yoga Society of 1904 in Chicago and read a lot of those books. And when I was reading the book, one of them, it's like I sit in front of the book and it feels like they're reading it to me.
wow,
It's again, and Carlos Castaneda, the teachings of Don Juan in the 70s, find your spot. And so you say, okay, there's a field, the Ohio State University Oval. Okay, where do I sit? And you just sit and listen, put your attention here, and then you let your body move. You feel it being directed when you
wow,
sit down on your spot. It's like tuning in to intuition. You're at a buffet or you're going to in the dorm. I wasn't living in a dorm, but I think I remember, where do I sit?
yeah,
Well, okay, there's all these people. So you just say, okay, lead me. And so it's a question of what your preference is and listening. So it's all about listening. I heard something the other day. We have two ears and one mouth. Even when I'm talking, I have to be listening because I don't have not too much of an agenda. I have an idea, but how it is said is my fun.
yeah.
Okay.
I want to ask you to go back to the pineal gland. Let's
Yes.
talk about that more. How do you tap into it? I have heard that it's your higher intuition. So give me an idea of what it's all about.
I put my attention on it.
And where
Just
is
like
it located exactly?
it's in baptism. There's a
Oh, the soft spot?
yeah, do you know the
Yeah.
purpose of baptism? They don't know it, but it's to keep it soft because that's the connection you have
Oh,
with the divine. But that's the purpose of it.
okay.
Like I heard a little story about a 3, 4 year old boy or a 5 year old boy, and the new kid was maybe just born, maybe a month old, and he was insistent. And the doctors and the parents were really concerned. Why is he so concerned about wanting private time with a 1 month-year-old? And so they put him under closed doors where they could see and they could hear. And when they finally let him in, he said, help me, I'm starting to lose my connection with the divine. It's like when you're newborn, that spot is wide open. And that's why babies shine and they glisten. And that they're just, they're connected to the divine, because as it gets hardened, it closes. And when you get to be 6 or 7, all of a sudden you become worldly. And that's the process. That's the process. It's not a bad thing. It's the way it's structured. It's everything is orchestrated by the divine. We come here to get experiences so we can become more free and learn to live this life where we are connected and we feel the connection.
Yeah.
See, we are, yeah, my mathematics background, it's Euclid's geometry. We are a point. We actually are a viewpoint. We are a point with a view. And we have awareness and consciousness. And so the pineal gland is the seat of the soul. Now, on the internet right now, on Facebook, they're confusing the pineal gland with the pituitary, and it's driving me crazy, but it's okay. The pituitary is the third eye. And when I was teaching honors math, honors calculus at Indiana University, as a senior, I was the TA. And I remember one of the brilliant students of the class, he was like this, and he was looking right into the third eye as he was solving a math problem. Okay, the third eye, that's where the mental acuity is. But the crown chakra here is where you're connected and listening to the divine. And they're both important. So the seat of the mind would be the pituitary gland, and the seat of the soul is the pineal gland.
How do
And
you
then you
strengthen them?
putting your attention on it.
Just putting your attention on.
That's a form of love.
Oh.
Giving anything attention is a form of love.
Okay.
Okay, when there was Stephen Gaskin was talking about group meetings they were having, talking about spirituality, and one of the children there was making all this noise, and they finally had the brilliant idea to stick the little boy in the center of 40 people, and everyone gave it their attention, so the crying became into giggling. When you give attention, like poor little rich girl, the movie, she never got attention from her dad.
Yeah.
People crave attention.
Yes.
Okay, and that's a form of love, giving person attention instead of ignoring. And so you get about feeling around there, and eventually you activate it. And then, of course, as you activate it, you're led to foods that feed it because you're putting attention on it, and you're led to not do foods that don't feed it. Like fluoride calcifies it.
Oh, yes.
That's why the Nazis put fluoride in the water. And that's why they put fluoride in the water. Maybe it helps the teeth, but the damage it does is 100 times worse than the help it does, because it gets rid of creativity. It calcifies, and you want to decalcify that. Because it's become stone.
How do you decalcify it?
There's certain herbs you can do. You can do fasting. If you go on Facebook or the internet, just say, how do you decalcify the pineal gland? How do you help open it? And there's tons of it. Oh, you get into the relaxed sauna.
Yeah.
That
So
cleanses and
I
purifies.
want to go on to that, but I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you one question before we do that.
Yeah.
What are we still getting wrong in Main Street health today, in your opinion?
You believe.
Ah,
You believe the lies they tell you. See, the pharmaceutical industry, and the government, they don't have our best interest at heart.
right.
And the way to prove that is called mathematical inductive logic. You assume something is true, and then you get contradictions. That means what you assume to be true cannot be true, because in a system, there should be no contradictions. And we can talk about this whole session. We can have another session where we talk about the sauna, if that's what you prefer.
I just have another question I want to ask. Why do you believe it's so important to address the root causes rather than the symptoms?
It's the name of my upcoming book is Pictures of the Mind, Freeing Yourself from Beliefs That No Longer Serve You.
Okay.
You are a slave to your beliefs. Just like in mathematics, you have assumptions, and those initial assumptions you have, you are a slave to them because you assume that they're true. And then logically, the mind is a logical thing. It just works logically. And when you pluck a belief, do you still believe in Santa Claus? It's that's you can believe in it or not, but see, like when I found out that I no longer wanted to do math, see, and but I was still being driven by that. And it turned out when I had my out of body experience shortly thereafter, a good friend of mine had just got his degree and in clinical psychology, and he was as a friend talking to me, and I'd go over to his house for a couple hours and and then we finally uncovered about 7 layers of lie. All I really wanted to be was loved. I didn't want to be famous mathematician. I wanted to be loved. And I said, okay, I have a strategy. And the strategy, if I could become famous, then maybe I would be loved. Or I believed. And frankly, I think this is the core desire of everyone is they
Yeah.
just want to be loved.
Yes.
And when you connect to the divine and realize you are loved, see, again, in the book Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, it says you can never have what you want. And that's because when you want something, you're picturing yourself not having it.
Oh.
See, and so the antidote is to be grateful for having what you don't already have.
Yeah.
See, and therefore you're picturing the puppy kiss in your arms, kissing you instead of picturing it in the health foods in the pet shop in a cage.
Yeah.
So what feeling impregnates thought with action, passion for the thoughts, giving love to the thoughts that you want and to the pictures you want, giving love to that brings them into manifestation. And the way to get around that is you assume it already, the wish fulfilled. See, and like talk about Saint Jiminy, he's Jiminy the cricket. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. And
Yes.
so the and it's funny, I was brought up Jewish and I was not religious, and my parents weren't. My dad certainly wasn't. My mom was, I don't know, she just, but it says we used to say, I shall not want, I shall not want.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the last 6 months, I all of a sudden remembered that because when you want something, you're picturing lack.
Yeah.
And anyway, this is if you want to be free, and so basically, once you realize you are loved, it's once you have found it's for a lot of people are out there seeking and but once you've touched then all of a sudden you have to give up seeking because when you're seeking you're assuming you haven't found it,
Yeah.
and so once you realize you have found it and it's just listening to your inner guidance. As a matter of fact, when you listen to your inner guidance or your heart, and some call that God, I call that God listening. And then let's abbreviate it, call it G hyphen listening. And let's take the hyphen out and you call it glistening.
Oh, love it. Love it. Okay, on that note, let's go on to the saunas. Let's talk
Okay,
about that.
sure. I opened up a health food store in 1980.
Okay.
And I started selling massage tools. I was with a girlfriend and I was selling an herbal vitamin. So we went to this recreational vehicle show, wondering whether next year I should have a booth selling my vitamins there. And we ran into a guy selling foot massagers. And since my girlfriend was a massage therapist, I said, okay, I'll buy 24 of them, and then I started selling them, and then I started selling them to stores. And so then I bought 100 at a time. And then I started the business accidentally selling massage tools to health food stores. And then finally, then I ran into someone, then I went to a show selling the foot massagers and I ran into someone selling massage sandals. So anyway, like all of a sudden you attracted. So I'm selling about 10 different massage tools. I'm selling herbal formulas. I'm selling the Master Cleanser book. I'm selling rebounders. I'm selling inversion machines, those devices you hang upside down.
Yes.
And it is so that's what I'm doing. And then eventually I opened up like a health food store and a health food distributing business, selling to health food stores and health professionals,
Nice.
massage tools. And so 20 years later, I go to a show in Las Vegas where I now live. This was probably 2000. And I was doing selling massage tools to a biological dentist conference that I went to. And then the next day there was a spa show, and one of my massage tool suppliers had a booth and had a sauna at it. I said, "Oh my God, you can have a sauna in your home?" I've always loved saunas ever since I ever got one when I was 16. The revitalization I felt, the cleansing, the purification, that's like the ultimate feeling in the world. And to have one in your home, oh my God. So a year later, that was my Baroque period. Before the classical period, you go through the Baroque period where I had no money. I call it my Baroque period. So anyway, it took me a year and I finally purchased it. And then a year later, and I loved it. It took 18 minutes to start sweating and 55 minutes for a good sweat. And it was just great. And I had it in my home, and we sold 6 that year. Okay, 6. And then I got a call from the Relax Sauna company in Taiwan, and they said their technology was a lot more advanced, and they spent 10 years finding a way to create a semiconductor chip using computer technology to give you 100% far infrared ray, not just 10 or 20 or maybe 50, but 100%, and that their technology gave you a more cleansing, purifying, and revitalizing feeling. So I said, fine, how much is it? And they said, fine. And I said, my gosh, that's a good price. And so I got one. I didn't realize they were giving me it was if I bought 200 of them, they gave me one at that price because they didn't have anyone in the United States selling it. And it took 8 minutes to start sweating and 20 minutes for a complete sweat. And everyone at my store, the 6, 7, 8 people who said, this is night and day, night and day. You know, if you feel better, you feel more purified, and it got rid of depression, it got rid of anxiety, it got rid of stress,
Wow.
and got rid of pain, and you felt puts a cup of coffee to shame. And the other sauna was nice. It's like the 2008 Democratic debates when Lloyd Benson said, "But you're no Jack Kennedy." It's like Kleenex tissue. They call it Kleenex, even though it may be some other tissue.
Yeah.
In the future, when people say, "Do you have a sauna in your home?" they're going to say, "Do you have a relax in your home?" Because and one behind me on
Yes, I see it.
yeah. But at any rate, so I started promoting those as shows. When I first started promoting them, I thought it was a little bit better than the other saunas. We were selling for $6.95, and the other saunas were selling for $5.95. Now we're selling for 1,700, and they're selling for 250. We were way underpriced, and they were way overpriced.
Wow.
But and again, it's the technology. Like all your vitamin C's are not the same. All your zinc supplements, your B vitamins are not the same. They're all different doses. They come from different sources. Like liposomal vitamin C is far more absorbable than normal vitamin C. You've got ascorbic acid, and you've got natural vitamin C. You've got drugstore vitamin C. You've got health food, and you've got a whole so all saunas are not alike. There's a detox specialist in Las Vegas. She had a $1,400 portable sauna. She had a $700 higher dose blanket. The sauna blankets have become popular a couple of years ago. And she said, I've got this sauna. That's the best around. And then she got in the Relax sauna. Said, oh, I guess it's nothing like this one. And then she gave her $1,400 sauna away, supposedly one of the best, good PR. And she gave her higher dose blanket away because they left her de-energized. Uh,
Oh,
and the Relax sauna, she was felt much more purified and detoxed. And above all, she felt revitalized after using it, not drained. And we had another person about 8, 9, 10 years ago at a cancer conference. He was about 25, and he would go across LA 3 times a week to use his mother and dad's sauna. And then he got in the relaxed sauna with his clothes on and his gym clothes for 25 minutes and said, "Oh my gosh, I feel revitalized, not de-energized." And it didn't take an hour, it only took 25 minutes. So he bought a relaxed sauna. And this is the kind of responses we've been getting for 24 years.
Wow.
And now 2026, this is the year where science merges with experience. We have 1,000 video testimonies on YouTube where people have said, I've been in 300 of them. They say, I've been in many saunas. There is, the difference is phenomenal. I've never felt where I was being hugged and loved by my loving grandma in any other sauna. They're harsh. This one is soft and loving. Plus, it works in 30 seconds, not 30 minutes. I feel at the end, my pains go away. The other one, not as much. They're all good. All the saunas are going to be helpful. Like
Yeah.
any vitamin C is going to be helpful, but some are better than others.
Yeah.
And so what this detox specialist in Las Vegas, he says, not all saunas are alike. See, people think a sauna is a sauna. They all have, no, we have 1,400 watts. Most of the saunas only have 900 or 1,000 watts. We use a normal plug that goes into every plug in your house. Some of them have the 220 volt where you have to spend $300, $400, $500 for
Yeah.
electricity. But the main thing is most of the saunas take about 20, 30 minutes to preheat. And they take another 30 minutes to get a sweat. The relaxed sauna takes 30 seconds to preheat, 8 minutes to get start a sweat, and 20 minutes for a complete sweat. Even the finished saunas that get 180, 200 degrees and create heat shock proteins, they can't do what the relaxed sauna at 130, 140 degrees can do in 25 minutes because we use computer technology. We
Wow.
use semiconductor chips, and that's the difference in the technology. And it's hard to explain when you have a $10,000 wooden infrared sauna and you come to our booth and I say, get in for 5 to 7 minutes. I guarantee you, with your clothes on, and you will not sweat, that 50% to 100% of your pain will be gone, and you'll feel like you've been hugged by your loving grandma, or you're basking in divine love. And you go in and you say, wow, both.
So, Philip, where could my listeners find this sauna to purchase it?
Come visit us at a show, go to my health food store in Columbus, or go on the internet and go to relaxsaunas.com. That's relaxsaunas with an S.com. You can go to YouTube and put in Relax Sauna Testimonials, and then go to our YouTube page. You click the little logo, and then and there's about 1,000 videos. There's about 10 or 20 talks of mine. There's about 10 or 20 or 30 interviews. There's about 1,000 video testimonies from 1 minute to 10 minutes, and some are 10 or 20. We got athletes, we got people with Lyme disease. You do a search for Lyme. We have 5, 6 cancer clinics that sell the relaxed saunas to their patients. We have a place in Colorado where they go for bath fever therapy. They go for 1 or 2 weeks, and then when they go home, they say they recommend getting a relaxed sauna to continue not the same treatment, but about half. They recommend relaxed saunas. And so the website is relaxsaunas.com.
Okay, I'll put that all in the show notes. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave my listeners with today?
Yeah, let's give them a discount code they can use where they can make $100 off.
Excellent.
What do you have any suggestions?
100.
Susan 100. Perfect. Susan 100. That it'll be. And they can go to the website, and at checkout it'll ask for a discount code, and they'll put that, and they'll get $100 off on the sauna. We have a silver sauna and a black sauna. People ask the question, what's the difference? The black sauna is for rich Taiwanese people who don't know what to do with their money. and they want to feel like they're a member of the Harley Club and feel special. It is
right.
thicker though, and it does retain the heat. And at high-end spas love the way it looks, so they get it. But the silver sauna does the job, the silver tent. And we've been doing that for 24 years now in the United States. But it's go listen to the testimonies, listen to 5 or 6 of them, and in a heartbeat, you'll say, I want this. From
Okay.
athletes, even the Los Angeles Dodgers had us bring one to their stadium on Thursday before the last 2 games of the World Series. They took them to Toronto and it gave them the edge.
Wow.
But people with migraine headaches, who have sleep issues, who have arthritis, 5 to 7 minutes without sweating, with your clothes on, 100% to 50% of their pain gone every single time.
Wow.
It blows
Excellent.
me away. It's really fun to be able to share this. And again, what's the exciting thing is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it gets people into the present moment where they feel that connection with the divine and opens up the pineal gland. It gets, see, I have a definition of pain that you'll enjoy. It's called the awareness of time. Have you ever hurried or worried or waited? All involving time, all emotionally very painful. And
Yeah.
when you get in the relaxed sauna, you feel this, it's like truth serum. You feel this pressure to get you in the moment where there is no time and space. You're just hanging out, and that it helps you get connected to that what you are. It's a
Beautiful.
beautiful experience. Yes.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you very much for coming on. I will put all of your information in the show notes so my listeners could come and check it out. And Susan 100 is the discount code for $100 off.
Yes.
Excellent. What a fascinating and expansive conversation this has been. Philip, thank you for sharing not only your incredible journey from mathematics to prodigy to spiritual explorer and holistic health pioneer, but also your decades of wisdom about energy, detoxification, and vibrant living. Your perspective really reminds us that healing isn't just physical. It's energetic, it's emotional, and deeply connected to consciousness. I love how today's discussion brought us back to something I speak about so often on this podcast, addressing root causes, not just symptoms. Whether we're talking about nervous system balance, detoxification, or the powerful benefits of Relax Far Infrared Sauna, the message is clear. Our bodies are designed to heal when we create the right conditions. To all of my beautiful listeners, especially my midlife women who are committed to aging naturally, gracefully, and powerfully, let today be your reminder that it's never too late to reclaim your vitality. Small, consistent steps towards holistic health can create profound transformation over time. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend, subscribe to Susan LoPresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul, and leave a review. Your support helps us to continue bringing these powerful conversations to women who are ready to heal and rejuvenate their mind, body, and soul. Until the next time, remember you deserve to feel vibrant, aligned, and fully alive at every stage of your life. Take care, and I'll see you next week.